I want to say more, but I'm going to hold back because I'm actually going to be releasing a book on him soon, which is entitled The Messiah Codex. So
Okay.
I unfortunately must hold back, but I just want to say I literally could say so much more.
All right. So people definitely got to get that book. I know I'm gonna get the
Mhm.
book because that was a big one for me. I questioned and wondered about Gamliel, and so I did some research on him and going back to what is it, Hillel the Elder,
Mhm.
and so just doing that kind of helps me understand a little bit that I do need to go and look at the oral tradition, and reading that also kind of helps me see Paul's position on certain
Mhm.
things. Okay, in that regard,
Mhm.
what is your take on Paul and that connection from the Maccabean era, the Jews and the Edomites being converted over, from that perspective, along with Herod being the first Edomian king,
Mhm.
to the Roman appointed authorities within Israel and Judea that leads to Paul's teaching coming from that house versus these are people that are instituted or still within the Levitical community that is being the priest, if that makes sense.
Absolutely, it does.
Okay,
And
thank you.
I'll begin where you began. I'll begin with Rabbi Gamliel. Rabbi Gamliel, the teacher of Paul or Saul of Tarsus, this is a man who is an immense of a giant of a scholar of Torah. Uh, you don't get the term rabbi because you said a couple of things that were intelligent. You get the term rabbi because you've had an impact in your era on your community and in people's lives. You get the title rabbi because you have changed people's lives. Contrary to popular opinion, the title rabbi is a title that comes through a person ritually or comes to a person ritually. Um, the language that is used to describe how someone comes into that office, um, we describe that as laying someone's hands or laying of your hands upon this person, which symbolizes conferring authority. All right. So, what's highly significant about this is that you'll find that when a rabbi is a rabbi, he's said to have semika. That's what it's referred to. Ritual ordination is called semika in Hebrew, which means the laying of the hands, which is the conferral of authority and power. Remember, they even wanted and attempted to call Jesus rabbi, but he rejected it. He said, call no man good but the Father who is in heaven. And he rejected the notion of anyone calling him rabbi. But he was deserving of it, hence why people attempted to call him rabbi. So, in looking at Ramban Gamliel and knowing that he's a doctor of the law, which is what the New Testament says he is, remember, there's a trial that occurs with the apostles, and Paul's teacher is called to give testimony, Rabbi Gamliel. And they say, what should we do with these people? They are following after Jesus the Nazarene and his teachings. What should we do? And he said, if the thing be of God that they are doing, if it be of God, it will succeed. If it is not of God, it will not succeed. And with those wise words, they let those men go because common sense set in that moment. Why are we trying and going out of our way to condemn Israelites for views that we may or may not understand as average and normal men? Leave it to God. Let God be the judge of the matter. So long as people follow morality and principles, why are we demonizing people for their beliefs? Why are we ready to kill people for their beliefs? If a person practices righteousness, high ethics, and morality, yes, you can have opposing views for me and still be my brother. Something the Israelite community could learn from. Because the source of division in our community is not even the fact that we don't keep Torah. Most of it is, oh, you believe the Sabbath is on Monday. Oh, you believe that the moon dictates when the feasts come in. Oh, you believe that this is how this particular law should be followed, or this particular book should be translated. Most of our discrepancies are fickle. So, in retracing the steps of these early pioneers, these doctors of the law, we have to understand that even with regard to the era of Herod, as great as the Edomite king Herod was, he wasn't so great that he could usurp the authority of the Sanhedrin. The Sanhedrin were a powerful body of elders and scholars who became the framers of what we're calling the oral tradition. So even though Herod comes to power, even though he clearly is against us as a people, he still could not usurp the authority of those body of men known as the Sanhedrin, who were highly capable of performing everything necessary to adjudicate that divine law, the Torah given to us on Mount Sinai. So I think what's important in this particular discussion at this moment to really hone in on, and since we're talking about our oral tradition with respect to these generations, first thing we have to ask ourselves is this. Notice that when Rabbi Gamliel is introduced in the New Testament, the New Testamenters call him a doctor of the law. They did not say among the Pharisees he's known as a doctor of the law. They simply call him a doctor of the law. Mind you, he's one of the main teachers of the oral tradition. That means the New Testament writers clearly cannot be in opposition to the oral tradition if they are so easily ready to describe this man as a doctor of the law, knowing all he teaches is the oral tradition. That's something that escapes the mind of a lot of our people. Having said that, you also recall in the book of Acts that it says to go from the Mount of Olives to Jerusalem is a Sabbath day journey. I got a question for the listening audience. Where in the entire Torah are we taught or commanded on how far to travel on the Sabbath? What are the New Testament writers speaking of when they say a Sabbath day's journey is the distance between the Mount of Olives and the Jerusalem? Don't they know that's oral tradition? Because it's only found in the oral tradition that you're allowed to travel 2,000 amot, which is the unit of measure used in the oral tradition. This is generally referred to as tikum Shabbat, which is called the Shabbat boundary. You're only allowed to travel 2,000 amot. That's the unit of measure, that's the distance. But the New Testament writers are so comfortable with this oral tradition that they clearly use it to measure the distance between the Mount of Olives and Jerusalem, which, if you're paying attention, it has to mean that they're following the oral tradition. So much so that they use some of its teachings as a unit of measure.